This conference will now be recorded.
So can we start?
Yeah, yes, I think we can
Hello?
start. Yeah, we can start. We can start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Humans are mortal, so are ideas. An idea needs propagation as much as plant needs watering. Otherwise, both will wither and die. B. R. Ambedkar. Good morning and welcome to the online lecture series organized by Department of Economics, Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi. The nation celebrated 130th birth anniversary of B.R. Ambedkar on 14th of April 2021. To commemorate this topic for the day, economic thoughts of B.R. Ambedkar on Indian economy. Hi, I'm Krishna Geeti NS, a third BS student, Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi. A word on B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was popularly known as Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and everyone knows that he was one of the architects of Indian Constitution. He was a very political leader, eminent jurist, Buddhist activist, philosopher, anthropologist, historian, orator, writer, scholar, editor, and an economist too. Dr. Ambedkar fought to eradicate social evils, untouchability, and fought for the rights of Dalits and other social backward classes throughout his life. He is celebrated for his immense vision and contribution to the legal and social framework of our republic, but many forget that he was by training one of the foremost Indian economics of his time. Armed with double PhD from Columbia University in New York and London School of Economics, the architect of India's constitution was full of ideas that hold relevance even today. In later years, Ambedkar's energies were devoted more to politics and social change rather than economic analysis, but even his writings and speeches on politics reflect a deep engagement with economic issues and questions of political economy. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was not only an economist by training, but he devoted considerable attention of social economic dimensions of social problems. His interest in and insights into contemporary economic problems stand out in many memoranda he submitted to the government from time to time. Against this background, the general ignorance of Ambedkar's contribution as an economist is as surprising as it is unfortunate. Let us commit to learning more about this truly great Indian who was full of ideas much ahead of his time. Ambedkar was a leader, reformer, constitutionalist, and economist whose contributions have touched every aspect of modern life. Now, for kickstarting our online data, I invite Dr. Chako Jose P., Head of Economics Department, Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi, for delivering the welcome.
Thank you, Krishnagiri. Respected resource person of the day, Sri Om Prakash Sonani, the IQAC coordinator of Sacred Heart College, Dr. Shirley Jose, participants from various colleges, my dear students and colleagues. The Department of Economics of Sacred Heart College, which has just celebrated its Silver Jubilee, has been organizing lecture series on topics of current relevance for the past several years. Unfortunately, the lecture series had temporarily halted this year due to the pandemic, which we are continuing now. I'm happy that we could organize this lecture series now, though a little late. This year, the lecture is to commemorate the economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, architect of Indian Constitution, on the occasion of his 130th birth anniversary. The economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar have particular relevance today as we pass through a challenging economic phase where the question of inclusive growth is ever more relevant. To speak on the topic, we have a very suitable resource person, Sri Om Prakash Sonani, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Chintamani College of Commerce, Chandpur, Maharashtra. He is a versatile and enthusiastic personality who is very active in the academic domain, leading in the academic domain, leading the organization of various national and international academic events. He is bearing many academic positions in his college. To mention a few, he is a member of the local managing committee, College Development Council, Nodal Officer of RUSA, Coordinator of IQAC, and Student Welfare Officer of the college. As we can see, he is holding all the key positions of the college. Sri Om Prakash has to his credit a number of research papers, book chapters, seminar presentations, and invited lectures. He is an extremely brilliant organizer, which was evident from the webinars he organized recently. I was a participant in these, and I would like to place on record my appreciation for the determination and integrity he showed in keeping his word on getting the seminar papers published. We do really need many academicians like him to take our higher education to the highest plane. Today, Sri Om Prakash will deliver a lecture on economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for Indian economy. Sir, on behalf of the Department of Economics, Sacred Heart College, I would like to wholeheartedly welcome Sri Om Prakash Sonani for this function. Hearty welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Shirley Jose, Associate Professor of Economics and IQAC Coordinator of Sacred Heart College, has been motivating all the departments of the college to keep on the quality drive despite the pandemic. As the coordinator of the IQAC and also as a member of faculty of the Department of Economics, she has extended all her support in organizing this webinar. I extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Shirley Jose.
Thank you, sir.
We are delighted that some faculty members and friends from other colleges have joined this lecture series, which encourages us to organize more of such programs. I extend a cordial welcome to all the participants from other colleges. the ultimate beneficiary of any event in a college is the student. All the programs any college organizes are for the student community. I welcome all my dear students to this program. My colleagues in the Department of Economics, Ms. Jeannie Thomas, Mr. Nigel Jacobi, and Ms. Nicey Jose have been part of the efforts behind organizing this webinar. I welcome them also to this event. Ms. Krishnagiri, the College Union Chairperson and the final year degree student of the Department of Economics, is moderating this event. I'm happy to welcome Ms. Krishnagiri for this webinar. I request all of you
Thank you, sir.
to make the best use of this lecture and participate actively. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaco sir, for doing the honors. And with utmost respect, we welcome you to this lecture, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, some general instructions to the participants. Please ensure your mics remain muted throughout the online lecture. The participants are free to pose their queries to the resource person at the Q&A session at the end of online lecture. Please type in your questions at the GoToMeeting chat box. Students of Sacred Heart College may send their questions in their department WhatsApp group. Now, without much further ado, I invite our resource person of the day to take over the lecture and enlighten us with the economic thoughts of B.R. Ambedkar on Indian economy. I welcome Sri Om Prakash Sonone, Assistant Professor, Chintamani College of Commerce, Pomburna, Maharashtra. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Krishnagiri. This is a great honor for me to be a part of your great lecture series. I would like to share my views on the economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. First of all, I would like to thankful to Dr. Shirley Jose, IQAC coordinator of Sacred Heart College, to organize such an event, and Department of Economics. I would like to thank to Dr. Choco Jose, who has invited me for this lecture. The participants, faculty members, department members, and all the students who are present in this occasion, I would like to thankful to you all first, because your concentration is very important. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. You're audible.
Your concentration is very important in this matter. I am not a perfect scholar in this area because I belong to the commerce faculty, but I read some things and think about the thoughts of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And generally, his thoughts are very, very impactful on the Indian economy. Generally, we are going through this lecture. I would like to share my PPT presentation here. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible. You can maximize the slides.
Yes, yes, yes. Just one minute.
Yeah, now it's perfect. You can start.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay. I would love to manage it all. Yes. Now we are going to see the economic thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for Indian economy. You may know, as Krishna Gita has already defined all the things in short, in brief. Today we focus on our objected lecture, that to know the lifespan of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in brief, understanding the scholarly writings of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, which was very impactful. Now, to know the social moments and economic relation of that moment. Also, we are going to see the review of work of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for Indian economy. And we'll little bit see the relation of these activities, his career, his education, and relevance of the current scenario. So we go through the lifespan. The first of all, he born on 14th April 1891 as a child of Sakpal family. But his teacher at the time of his high school, he was Ambedkar, and his teacher gave the name Ambedkar to him, and later on he is known as a doctor, as known as a Ambedkar. In his high school, he was learned at Satara in 1907. He has completed his matriculation higher secondary and from Elphinstone High School, Mumbai. After that, in 1912, he has graduated from economics and political science from Bombay University. Also, it was Elphinstone College. Now, after that, the Sayajirao Gaikwad III offered and awarded him the scholarship for the PG at Columbia University, New York. He has get the PG also in economics and other subjects, just like politics and other. After that, the London School of Economics, he acquired the doctorate degree from there in 1923. Simultaneously, he has acquired a degree as a bar course. It was a barrister of law. And after that, the third doctoral in 1952, it was an honor degree from Columbia University. Also doctorate and delete degree from Osmania in 1953. After that, we find out the lifespan of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. In 1980, he worked as a professor of political economy in Sydenham College of Commerce and Economics, Bombay. Just Krishna Giri has expressed that he was an eminent economist, but it is not his identity in present, but basically in the academics and in the proper educational, he was an eminent economist and scholar of economics. We find out that he started periodicals. He was a writer, he was an editor. Periodicals Muknayak in 1920. After that, Bahishkrit Bharat and Equality Janta. He was also the editor of Indian Economic Forum. He practiced as a lawyer at a Bombay High Court. Also, because he has a degree of barrister of law, he fought very cases. In 1926 to 1937, he was a member of Bombay Legislative Council. After that, in 1937 to 1942, he was a member of Bombay Legislative Assembly again. And in 1937 to 1942, he was a member and leader of opposition in that Bombay Legislative Assembly. It was his political career, but during this career, he made very good efforts to uplift and to develop the, excuse me, am I shift that cursor?
No.
Sorry. It's a little bit difficult to see the presentation to me. completely because GoToMeet is attempting many times.
Sorry, you can see. You can see.
Yes, the participants are visible here. Yeah.
Your screen is not visible. It's visible to us.
Yes, my screen is visible to me, but it is hiding very much items. So it doesn't matter. We will take it. Then after the 1946 to 1950, he was a member of Constituent Assembly of India, and the one was skipped. 1942 to 1946, he was a Minister of Labor in Viceroy's Executive Council. At that time, he made very efficient work and remarkable work. We will see it later. In 1947, from the 1947 to 1950, he was a chairman of a constitution drafting committee. It was a very well known constitution in the world and famous and very important document for all the scholars of all the area in the science, social sciences, economics, and various areas. And in 1947 to 1951, he was the first Minister of Law and Justice. We could find out he has made various laws and various updates in the industry and labor. So we will see it in detail. In 1952, from 1952 to 1956, he was a member of Parliament of Rajya Sabha, and unfortunately, he was passed away by his illness on 6th December 1956. This is the lifespan of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We can see that what are the positions and at which level he has acquired it and achieved it. It is his achievement. Why? Because he was belonged to the Mahar community, and that community was categorized as a low caste category. As a low caste category peoples, we know that at that time the people are not able to do anything. I would like to share one experience of his writing that at the time of his fourth, he passed fourth class, and fourth class, that means fourth standard. It was a very big occasion for their community. Their community enjoyed that movement that one of us is passed fourth standard. It was a communal celebration. So, and that celebration was organized by the community people for him. And one of his colleague or one of his relative has offered and gifted one book related to Gautam Buddha, and from that time he read that book and inspired with him. Now we will concentrate on our focused topic. Yeah. Some moments for the upliftment. Excuse me, this is yes, lifespan. Some moment for the upliftment of economic view. He has worked to establish the Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha, a central institute for promotion of education. Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha, because he thinking that he thought that the education is a basic thing which is which have the capability to enhance and uplift the poor, because his slogan was that Shika Sangatitva and Sangharsha Kara. That means get education, become a group, become gathered it, and you can fight for your rights. Shika Sangatitva and Sangharsha Kara. So that's why he has established Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha. The purpose of this Hitakarni Sabha was upliftment of the poor and neglected persons in the viewpoint of education. Why it is important, we will see later. Now, movement against untouchability. There are various kinds of movements for the untouchable persons. One of it is movement of drinking water at Mahad, movement for right to enter in a Hindu temple. In 1927, he burned the Manusmriti. It was celebrated as a day of Manusmriti Dahan Day on December 25th. And Kalaram temple Satyagraha at Nashik to enter into the temple. So these are some upliftment issues, upliftment activities done by him. We will see the economic view on that. Establishment of Bahishkrit Hitakarni Sabha. You may know that the education is very important to become a strong and economically sound person. If a person have various types of wealth in his family but unable to complete his education, the person cannot increase or expand his wealth because lacking of education. And those who have not the enough life standard or a bad economic condition in his family, he should have to learn and acquire the knowledge. If the person acquire and get the proper knowledge and get trained for the upcoming industrial or business class or service class, he may uplift his family and get shift from himself from the poor family to middle class family. And what is the importance of education? Education is creating the knowledge and capability to understand each and every movement, whether it is a political, whether it is a economical, whether it is a social, and that each and every movement can be criticized or can be understood by the educational background. If a person with a good education, can understand it, can think on it, and can act on it as required for the social well-being and family welfare. So that's why it is important in the educational viewpoint. Movement against the untouchable. You may know that the untouchables are categorized as a lower caste. The untouchable is not categorized with the qualities of a person, but untouchable has been categorized with the birth. And getting birth into the poor family or untouchable family, it is not a scene. It is not a scene of a person who get birth. So that's why this movement is very important. And what is the concern? What is the relation of the economy? Because a person who is born in the untouchable remains poor, remains low living of standards. So that's why if we want to demolish or reduce the poor from the India, we have to work for the untouchables, we have to work for the poor, and maximum number of poor are belong to the untouchable community. So that's why it is very important movement for Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Movements for drinking water, because equality should be there. A human being requires some things, essential things, which are we categorize things into the essential things, things for the pride, and things for the what we can say as a prestige. Essential things, things for the prestige, and these we required some water, shelter, food. These are medicines, education. These are the essential things, and one of it, water, is the part of a food, and it is essential. Without water one cannot be survived. So that's why it is important factor of economic view and in the living standard. After that, the moment of right to enter the Hindu temple, it is one kind of equality. Then burning the Manusmriti. What is concern of that Manusmriti? We will see in later, but we will just think about it. What is Manusmriti? Manusmriti was a promoter, or was one kind of a rule of a society that there are four levels of human beings are there, depend on the caste. First is Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It is decided by the Manusmriti writers that this is the division of labor. So that's why we will think it is not a division of labor. And what was the thought of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, we will see it later. And Kalaram temple, it is one kind of equality issue. Then the scholarly books and writings of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar written, generally these books are related to his educational career and educational time. The first one was when he was in Columbia University in 1915. He written a book, Administration of Finance of East India Company. You may know that East India Company ruled in our India, about 150 years. And he has studied that whole point of view, in the point of view of economics, administration of finance. Generally, what is the administration of East India Company? He opposed the policies adopted by the East India Company. You may know that near about 75 years East India Company ruled our India, and later on the East India Company handovered the all holdings to government of Britain, and government of Britain ruled our India for 75 years. These are two different spans, and Dr. Ambedkar studied that first span from the East India Company, that what that East India Company did, and he suggested to the Britain government not to do some things, which was important point. What he pointed out in his thesis or in his writing, that the government, British government, is collecting taxes from Indian poor people or Indian community, but that fund is not enoughly used for the development of the area, the India. He suggested that the government should build up the bridges, build up the dams, build up the transportation equipments and transportation facilities. So he has suggested that economic view to the Britain government. It is a scholarly writing based on the statistical background. So that's why it is very important thing. One scholar person in foreign is writing something against to the Britain. It is very essential thing to understand. A person, scholar person, is writing against the government. Now the second writing is the problem of rupee, its origin and its solution. It was published at London, but this study is started from 1833 to 1921. That was a span, was a study, and he has studied various principles. Which kind of principle? The principle related to ideal currency system for India, and that ideal currency system was suggested and studied by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar for his PhD study. He was only person who acquired that type of degree, Doctor of Science in Economics, Doctor of Science in Economics. So that's why it is very essential thing to understand. This thesis was very critical to understand. Various thinkers and various researchers studied it, but couldn't understand it for first time. So that's why it is necessary to elaborate that. he studied the basic concept of Indian rupees, how it was origined, how it was started, and get spread into the India for the basic business activities, for the purchasing and useful for the debts. So that's why what is the purpose of origin, what is the importance of this currency, and we could know that the standard currency he has suggested. There are various kinds in the monetary economics. We can find out that the currency issue is one important thing in any economy, and there are standards to publish standard to print the currency. There are two standards were available at that time: gold standard and gold exchange standard. And what was thinking of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in the view of monetary uh, aspects, that the standard which must to be adopted is very important and essential for the development of India. He suggested it must be maximum liquidity for the Indian peoples. Adopt that kind of standard which is very essential for the liquidity, because essential liquidity is related to the business activities. Much liquidity increase the business activities and trade activities that will be beneficial for the development of India. But he suggested some limitations for that standard, and some limitations must be there. His thought is totally against the then scenario. At that scenario, Keynes was an eminent economist and recovered the America from the recession. He was a popular economist at that time, and he has many followers to him. And the opposite opinion has given by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. The Keynes was in favor of a gold standard for the developing country, and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar suggested the gold exchange standard for the monetary issues for the rupees. And he argued that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar argued that there is a different condition, there is a separate condition for India, because he was one of the scholar and he studied that, and he suggested this kind of this kind of a monetary system and adoption of exchange standard. Later on, we will find out that that standard was adopted. Now we can see that the evaluation of provincial in British India, a study in provincial decentralization of imperial finance, was a third writing of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. It was a study, the provincial finance in British India. The same span is here. You think that the 1833 to 1921 was used for the problem of rupees, and the same span, the 1833 to 1920, was used for the evaluation of provincial finance. What it is, we can find out that it is very essential and important for the relation of, again these two, yes, the relation of states and center. You may know that yes, you may know that the relation of state and central is also issue in present scenario. We can find out that previously, when the India was not independent, in Madras, Bombay, Calcutta provinces were there. Provinces, that means area. It was one kind of considered as a states, and the state financial relation and central relation was studied by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Imperial, that means it is the central, related to the central, and province related to the state. And he has suggested various things to the government, that what should be the ideal relationship between central and state finance. So
Excuse
we
me,
can find out that in
sir.
present
Can I?
scenario.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
One participants, Dr. K. Satish Kumar is. Your mic is on. Would you please unmute? Sorry, mute. Thank you. Sorry
Okay.
for the
May I
interruption.
continue? May I continue?
Yes.
Okay. Now the relation between central and state policy. You may find out that in present scenario, where there is a government of the opposing party, we could find out that there is a clashes between central government and state government. What is the rights of state government and what is the rights of central government in present scenario are very important factors. In the present pandemic, we can find out that the GST was the issue, the remdesivir was the issue, the oxygen was the issue, the electricity was the issue, and the revenue was the issue. So that's why the proper relation should be there, is even suggested in 1920 by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and we can find out the present importance. The current scenario is totally dependent on that type of suggestions. If we could, or the government could study that, can find out the proper solutions on the issues between the central government and state government. So that's why that was a scholarly economic writings by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Then we will see that the contribution of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to establish the Reserve Bank of India. We find out that in 1926, the Hilton Young Commission was came into India to establish the central bank, and we say it Reserve Bank of India. Every central bank is essential for the developing and developed countries, not only developing and developed countries, but also the countries who are fighting for the economic crisis. So the role of Reserve Bank of India is important, and India requires that. So that's why the Hilton Young Commission was sent by the British government to study and say or give some recommendations. And in front of that commission, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has given a testimonial and argued something. I would like to quote that quotings which I was acquired from the lecture of Narendra Jadhav, one of the former officer of Reserve Bank of India, that the flexibility of gold exchange standard is certainly desirable. You may know that he has accepted the gold exchange standard and suggested it. It is a double-edged weapon. He also suggested that, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar also suggested that the gold exchange standard is one kind of a double-edged weapon. It is good for the Indian economy, but it is double-edged weapon. How it was? He later said that if the government is responsible, the flexibility that is available in the gold exchange standard, the government is responsible. If the government is responsible, it can be very efficiently used by the government. You may know that note issue can be used for the fighting against the recession and to uplift the and develop the country. So that's why it is very important thing. If the government is responsible, it would certainly use, and but the government is irresponsible. In the case, he suggested, in the case the government is irresponsible, then it is liable to be misused. The government may be misused that kind of a gold exchange standard. So that's why he suggested. And the government can recklessly issue, if the government is irresponsible, what the government can do, government can recklessly issue the lot of currency that will create situation too much money chasing too few goods. You may know that what is the condition. Too much money chasing too few goods, it is a definition, one kind of a definition of a inflation. The result would be inflation. The inflation would hit the poor people the most. And what would be the affected area? He expressed that the poor people will mostly affect. In the present scenario, we can find out that there is a great recession all over the world because of a pandemic lockdowns, and we find out that the most sufferer of this recession is poor peoples, are the poor peoples. So that's why he already pointed out that. Therefore, but the concern is different. Therefore, there should be a limit. So that's why he suggested, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar suggested, there should be a limit to issue the notes, issue the currency. The gold standard is not necessarily better. Here it is, he always point out that the gold standard is not better than gold exchange standard is not better than gold standard, but there is a little bit printing mistake. The gold exchange standard is not necessarily better than gold standard, but there must be some provision for controlling the amount of a credit that the Reserve Bank will give to the government of India. If there is no control on there, is going to be an unmitigated disaster. What kind of a disaster it is, we can find out in the current scenario, just like a recession. But here it is, the reason was different. If the government issue maximum notes, by issuing the notes, it will lead, the Indian government should be lead, or would be lead towards the inflation, and it may be the unmitigated disaster in the point of view of Dr. Ambedkar. And he later on said that in the terms too much money, liquidity being created, that would create the situation of too much money. And too much money, you may know that in the monetary economics, we can find out that too much money is changing to the too few goods. It is one kind of inflation. And we can say that a little bit inflation near about 0.1 or 2 is essential. It may be controllable to the level of 3 to 5, and if it is increased than that, that will be very, very, very disastrous to the economy. So that's why Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar already pointed out in front of Hilton Young Commission. That was denied by the Hilton Young Commission, and later on we can find out that the result were found in 1990s. In India, that time we faced the inflation, and at that time the government adopted the policy which was suggested by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in front of Hilton Young Commission, because that note was already available with the Reserve Bank of India, as far as the lecture given by Narendra Jadhav and pointed out this issue in his lecture. So that's why, what was the role of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? And later on, the B.R. Ambedkar was one eminent economist and suggested some issues and communicated with the RBI for taking a proper decision as a minister and as a socialist. Now we are going to see the contribution in agricultural sector. We may find out that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, one of the socialist, economist and politician, he used his whole-hearted efficiency for the upliftment of the poor, and the works he did. We take it point by one. At the time of near about in 1920 or 26 at the time, the Khoti system was there. A Khoti system is known as a zamindari or saukari, not only in Maharashtra but also all over the India. But generally, the Khoti system was related to the coast area of western Maharashtra. It was Konkan area. So that's why what was the Khoti system? The Khoti system was the lenders or the landlords offer loans to the poor farmers, and once a poor take a loan from any zamindar or any saukar, he will become his borrower and debtor for a lifetime. So that was a system. Why it held, and is it injustice against the poor, injustice against the farmer? Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar think about it and work for it and abolish and protested against the Khoti system and abolished the Khoti system. In 1946, he was a nominated member of a provincial assembly. We seen it already. He presented a bill at that time to abolish the abolition of money lenders. And what was the suggestion in that bills? He suggested that one passbook should be there. We find out that in the bank, the depositor get a passbook from a bank, but he suggested that not only to the depositor, but the passbook should be issued to the loan account and to the borrower. What is the importance of that? Not only bank should issue that type of loan account or loan passbook to the borrower or to the debtor, but the creditors, the private creditors, the zamindar, the saukars, and the lenders should provide, landlord should provide the same kind of a passbook to the farmers or to the debtors. Why it is important? We will find out it. He also suggested that a regulation of state government rigorously should be there. The passbook should be monitored by the state government, that how much loan should be given, what is the content of, what was the content suggested by the Dr. Ambedkar in that credit debtors passbook. The principal amount, the amount remains, the amount paid against the interest, the amount paid against the principal, and what is the balance, that all things should be there. So that's why, and it must be monitored or must be regulated by the state government rigorously. Why it is important? Because the whole life and whole family life is concerned with that. The farmers are facing such relevant issue in present scenario. Also, you can find out in the Maharashtra there are so many suicides of farmers. And what was the reason? One committee was stated or formed by the government to study that kind of issue under the Dr. Narendra Jadhav, and he studied that the great relevance of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's abolition of money lenders bill and the present scenario. And at that time, he already suggested, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar already suggested, if the lenders or the creditors are not following such kind of provisions, then the punishment should be cancellation of their license to issue the loan. So that's why this is very important thing for the agricultural sector of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. He was a supporter, and he suggested the group farming and cluster farming, because nowadays we can find it out that we have the population, a large population, and in the large population we have to we are facing that there are small scale of small size of farming. So at the time of 1930s, he suggested the cluster and group farming. It is very essential in the present scenario. He written a scholarly article, Small Holdings in India and Remedies. So in that he already suggested that point, and we must to follow that point in the present scenario. It will be very beneficial to us. Then he was in favor of industrialization and employment generation, and reduce the load from farming, and trying to suggest that the increasing population can be think about the uh, industrialization. They should have to go to the urban areas, and given a slogan that shahar ki or chalo, that means you have to go to the urban area, and because he's seen that the urban area was developed in the western countries, and it will be the future of India. So that's why the person who leave the rural area and go to the city area or urban area, that will be the uh, that will be very beneficial to the employment generation and employment, and it will reduce the load of farming. He also worked for the power and water whenever he was a minister of law. The At that time we did not have the issue of water, but his visionary works recommended the Bhakra Nangal, Damodar Valley, and Hirakud Dam. So that's why such kind of things can be beneficial to the government and the society at present. Now we will see the contribution of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar for the laborers and industry. Uh, we will see it very fast because we have various issues, and I have very little bit time. From the 1942 to 1946, he was a minister of labor in the Viceroy's Executive Council. At that time, he was formulated some issues and addressed some issues and worked for that. He was introduced the concept of employment exchange. We are aware about the employment exchanges established at district level in India, and that role of that employment exchange is very essential and important to give the employment and generation, and a middleman, a channel of mediation between the employers and employees. So that's why that concept was introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He worked for the industrial dispute and decided and a framework for the industrial dispute, how we can reduce the dispute and settlement of the disputes. He expressed, and he given various kinds of things for that. He worked for the working hours and reduce the working hours for the workers. He worked for the welfare of the workers, and offered maternity leave that is available for the government and private sector workers, generally the lady workers, generally the women workers. Also he suggested and implemented the paid leaves. The paid leaves, whenever you have such an important work, you have a particular paid leaves as per as the rules and regulation related to your employer, and the employer should have to offer the paid leaves. He also suggested some improvements in working conditions. We find it out that various working condition, various the situation and the recession period and rest period and various things are there. He also offered gum boots and contribution towards the workers. Now we could find out that the at that time the system for the based on the casteism, which was right and wrote in the Manusmriti. We can find out that Manusmriti has suggested the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, the fourfold division of labor. But Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was opposed that labor conditions, and it is he said that it is, he quoted that it is not a division of labor, it is a division of laborers. If you will impose it, then it will be damage, it will great damage irreparable to economic growth. So you can find out that what was his thoughts about the division of labor. You cannot adopt the Manusmriti for that, because if we want to uplift the laborers, we want to uplift the poor, we should have to deny that system, and the system should be on the basis of qualities and abilities available into the human being, not based on the birth of that person. So that's why these issues and contribution given by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for the laborers. Now we would turn towards the contribution of constitution. In the economic viewpoint, we know that the Dr. Ambedkar was a renowned person and a father of Indian constitution. But he used that point in the economic point of view. When he wrote the Indian constitution, we find out that the he given the equality to all, and it is the essential thing for the equal opportunity. That was section 14 of Indian constitution. Equal opportunity, why it is required? Because he denied the casteism system, and Manusmriti favored division of labor. So that's why it is equal opportunity to every person. Prove yourself and get the opportunity. Equal opportunity, equality is there. So the second one is Finance Commission in the section 280. It is formed for the welfare finance, and in the present scenario we could find out that the suggestions given by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and the visionary activities done by him are adopted in the present scenario, not only by the India but also by the United Nations development projects, the World Bank. For what? For the sustainability and for the development of the poor. In present scenario, we can find out that the present Finance Commission is a 15th Finance Commission, which is started from 2021 to 22 and will continue till the 2025 to 26. In this Finance Commission, later on we can find out that near about the last 2 or 3 Finance Commission has adopted the policy to uplift the poor, and we have to work for that. The suggestions were very important in the viewpoint that we are in the position of 131st out of 189 countries in the ranking of Human Development Index. What is the Human Development Index? Or what is the economic development? We can find out that the economic development is closely related to educational ability or educational status of the population, the income level of the population, the living standard of the population, the health and age or mortality rate of the population. So that's why these are the very essential and important things and required things which are fulfilled, and the Finance Commission is working for that, and we should have to work for that. Why we should have to work? Because if we want to become the developed country, the equal development should be there. What the Finance Commission does, or what the Finance Commission has the responsibilities. The Finance Commission is balancing the development among developed families or developed communities or developed peoples and the undeveloped or economically backward peoples. The Finance Commission suggests the income level also utilize that fund for the poor peoples, for the peoples who belongs to the poor family. Near about the schemes, the financial schemes, the various projects are run for the development, not only the infrastructural development but also there are various welfare schemes for the BPLs, below poverty level peoples. You may find out that the housing facilities are there, Griha Yojana, the sanitary facilities should be there, the educational facilities are there, the scholarship and various things are belong to the Finance Commission strategies. So that's why these are established and shown by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Now we could find out that the reservation policy, why this reservation policy was introduced and promoted by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, the promotion for the neglected. The promotion for the neglected, that means Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar willing to promote the neglected and poor who are the below poverty level population of India, and to balance the economical growth between the uh, economically developed and economically undeveloped peoples. So that's why he wants to balance that, and the opportunity should be, additional opportunity should be provided to the poor. Why it is? Because if a poor person can get the benefit of education, reservation in education, reservation in services, reservation in development policies, at that time the opportunity will uplift the poor from the poor family into the middle income group family. So that's why the middle income group family can qualitatively provide the basic things required to the family. So that's why a person who get service or job by using the reservation policy, automatically you can find out his family and living standard get increased or get developed, and it should be revived, it should be checked by the government. In the current scenario, we can find out that those who have belonged to the poor family or neglected family took the benefit of reservation, and it is my own opinion that if a family took the benefit of the reservation policy for near about 2 to 3 generation, that policy should be changed for those person who have took that type of benefits, and that benefit should be offered to those who have not taken the benefit of that policy in previous generation and still in neglected and poor condition, economically poor condition. So that's why it is my pure suggestion, it is my own suggestion, and government should study about it, that who has continuously offered the reservation policy and who basically require that reservation policy in the neglected, point out the word, in among the neglected, in the neglected or poor family. So the government should have to correlate that family. I will take 5 minutes more. It is permittable, Dr. Choco?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. It is little bit and he has done promotion. He was a promoter of a nationalization of basic industries. What was the basic industries theory? At the time of independence, there are basic industries belong to the private sector. He was in favor of nationalization of a basic industries. Why? Because there should be the welfare activities, there should be the welfare activities and development activities. The basic industry should work for the development, not for the profit, and the basic industry should provide the platform, just like a steel, just like a transportation, just like various things are there, communication. There are various kinds of industries which are categorized as a basic industries. But in the present concern and present scenario, the liberalization policy, the industrial, the liberalization policy, the privatization policy has adopted in early 90s, late 90s in India. But these policies are promoting the the privatization. We could find out that now the railway is going to be private. Now the airlines is going to be private. Now the just few years the defense ordnance factories have been privatized. So where we are going, if it is necessary, but some sort of a basic industries, we should have to work for that, and we protect that basic industries. If we will not protect that basic industries, that will work for the profit and exploit the Indian development, the basic industrial development, industrial establishment. It will directly affect on that. And we find out that the insurance sector must be related to state monopoly, but we are going to privatize the insurance sector. It doesn't matter that we are accepting the international agencies, international institutions, international businesses in the insurance sector, but we are going to privatize the insurance sector. Why it is problematic, or why it is hazardous for the Indian economy? Because the insurance sector is a largest investor into the market. The amount which is given as a premium, as a one kind of investment, one kind of insurance amount, it directly invested into the market, share market, mutual funds, and large scale projects. So this is directly related to the development of India, and if we privatize it, it will be directly affect to the development. The Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar also used to share trading, and by this way he given a message to the community that we should have to think about the share trading. We are still thinking about the investment into the land, investment into the gold, investment into the unfruitful assets. Though these are the investments, but these are not sharing up taking a part into the development as a capital formation. If we use that investment, if we use our savings into the share market, that will be beneficial for the industrial sector, and the industry will grow up. So that's why we should have to think about it. Now the final thing, Bahujana Hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya, was a theme of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar for his whole life, because he is belonged to the undeveloped community, and he worked and fought for the development and for the equality. But the economic view, because he was a economic scholar, he was a eminent economist, he suggested the equality, Bahujana Hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya. And in the present scenario, we discuss that, we chat on that. The 2 to 3% peoples have much more, and about 97 peoples do not have enough 2 to 3% asset of the India. So that's why we have to focus on that. We have to establish the equality which was suggested by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Bahujana Hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya. That does not mean give all the facilities on bed to the poor family. Just give them offer. Just offer them the opportunity. If you are offering something to the beggar, one beggar is came in front of your door, and you are offering 10 lakh rupees to the beggar. What will the beggar do? What will the beggar do? He will use that all money for his living standard. He will purchase the food, he will purchase the residence and various things. But we should have to work for the basic requirements and basic upliftment of the person. we should have to work for the basic requirement. Just like if we provide him the machinery, or we offer him the employment opportunity, the business opportunity, that will be beneficial for him for a whole life. So that's why we have to work for it. So that's why it should be Bahujan Hitai Bahujan Sukhai. We do not offer the facilities only, but we should have to offer the business opportunities, the income opportunities to the poor families. That will be the real upliftment of the poor, and a fruit of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's efforts for whole life. I would like to thankful to the organizers, Dr. Chokko Jose P, and I would like to thankful to the organizers and Sacred Heart College Chalikudi to give me a chance to express my views in front of you. And I would like to share my views and try to satisfy you and satisfy your questions now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. These are some references of mine.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful session. To the kind attention of the participants, if you have joined the lecture without registering, please register using the link that will be provided shortly in the chat box. Thank you. Now we move on to the Q&A session. You may please raise your queries in the chat box or by unmuting yourself. Students of Sacred Heart College may post their questions in the WhatsApp official groups. Thank you. Sir, we have one question.
Yes. What it was?
Krishnagiri, can you read out the question? Sir, it seems she has lost connection. In fact, I can see one question now. I'll read out the question. The question is, the economic thoughts of Ambedkar seems to be very relevant. But in the planning process of India, or initial years of Indian governments, none of the governments discussed the economic policies of Ambedkar, though there were discussions about economic policies of Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru. So, what do you think? Some Ambedkar's economic policies were sidetracked in the initial years of Indian planning and development?
Yeah, it is very relevant that, and a very good question asked by the participant. We could find out that the government should have to adopt that policies suggested by the Dr. Ambedkar. But in present, that the government should have to adopt that policies, but the government belong to the thought process. Each and every government has a thought process. We think that if a person could not understand the thing without getting the results, adverse results, if we try to jump from a hill, but a child do not have the experience about it. the people belong to the communal background, the thought processes protected them or diverted them from the thought processes, diverted them, because the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar belonged to the backward community and untouchable, and it somewhere effect on the policy formation. We could find out that he was a law minister. He was a law minister, but some thinkers told that he should be the economic minister as far as his scholar and as far as his expertism is related. So he should be the economic minister instead of law minister at that time. If he hold that position, he work for that, and he your question will not be your question is not be arised today, but he has hold the position of law minister, so he made the laws and he tried to uplift the economic conditions. So that's why that would be discussed at that time, but it was our misfortune. If his thoughts were adopted at that time, we were in the different condition in present scenario. We could be the more developed than the present scenario. Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Thank you, sir. Krishnagiri,
Yes,
are you back?
one question I have arised in private.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
Dr. Ambedkar's economic theories not included in many of the Indian universities curriculum? Yes, very good. It is a very good thing. And you could find out that the domination is everywhere. The political domination is everywhere. The communal domination is everywhere. We could find out that in the election, which could be expected purely it is based on the religion. It is based on the communal perspectives or communal things. So we the basic people, we the basic human beings, we the basic citizens of a developed India, we should have to adopt and come out from the religious, come out from the casteism, and think about the pure development. So the policy formers, the syllabus decision makers, that we could say the study study centers, the university syllabus decision makers should have to include that syllabus, because it is very relevant, it is very scholar, it is very important in the present scenario, and we should have to update our syllabus and include the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's economical thought in the scholarly view. Do not take Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar as a leader of a neglected persons. Why don't we think about the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar as an economist, as a thinker, as a politician, as a developer of the modern India? So we should have to work for that video. Now, please.
Okay, sir. Krishnagiri, are there any questions? Sir, I can see one more question in our WhatsApp group.
Yes.
One student is asking that you mentioned that during this pandemic time, there is every possibility that the poor are the most affected people. So, in what way the Ambedkar's policy will be specially relevant to solve the problems of problems happen to the downtrodden due to the lockdown?
Just we have to think about that. The lockdown was not held in previous any scenario. It is adopted as a new policy. But what it is, one kind of a still picture of an economy, and you may never seen that kind of a picture in past. It is a still economy picture. Everything is stopped. Industry stopped, then the transportation stop, the activities, business activities, the shop, each and every aspect of the economy. It is a cycle. You may know that it is one kind of a cycle. There is a cycle of a development and cycle of a undevelopment. So you can find out that the inflation and deflation is there. They are also related to the inflation and deflation. So inflation is at higher peak. It is a worst condition. Inflation is at a higher peak, and we stopped the industrial cycle, the business cycle. If we stop the trading, the demand is stopped. The consumers are asking for the goods, but supply chain is stopped. So the inflation automatically increases, and automatically the production has been stopped because there is a lockdown. So it is a worse condition. And what was the relevant thought related to this condition? We should have to adopt the welfare policies. We should have to adopt the policies of a currency issue. We should have to issue the currency, and we should have to uplift that the still picture. We should have to open such kind of a welfare schemes for the poor and for the small business entrepreneurs, because their business is already in loss since the pandemic. Near about 1.5 year is going to be 1 year has to be completed, and we are going to complete the 1.5 year. You can think about that. A person is not earning, even not meeting the basic expenses of the business. So that's why we should have to create the welfare policies, and we should have to ask to the 3% 3% economically solid persons for the relevant persons, poors. They can contribute, because it is in the hand, it is in the hold of a government to ask for that, because the 3% people has earned many much from the poor. They are the consumers. The whole world is accepted us as a consumer, but the Indian are also accepted as a consumer. So that's why that is their moral responsibility, and government should have to offer, you should have to do for the poor, the neglected, and to the affected in this pandemic. Next one, please.
Thank you, sir. Next question.
Yeah.
Sir, there is a well-known quote by Ambedkar that I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved. So what are Ambedkar's contribution to women's rights, the half of India's population?
Yeah, he has given various things and suggested various things. You may find out that his wife has contributed much in his protest and in his the upliftment work. She hold and she run his whole family in worst condition also. She provided and sent money, arranged that money, and saved that money and sent to the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. That's why he able to become the scholar and able to complete the degrees. It is unforgettable contribution of his wife. So that's why he worked for the community, the women's also. He given the equal opportunity to the woman. You may find out that the equal opportunity of voting, equal opportunity of jobs, not only the jobs, the reservation policy. You may find out that the present scenario, the reservation also offered to the women's. for the government jobs, not only into the government jobs, but also the defense sector and various sectors which were not related to the ladies or women are now open for that. So that's why the reservation policy basically suggested by the B.R. Ambedkar for the upliftment of the poor, and that same policy has been adopted for the upliftment of the women. So the reservation policy, the equal opportunity to men and women is already offered by the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in his constitutional writing. And also he has suggested the for the it is a objectional thing maybe in viewpoint of some participants, but he has suggested that you can marry intercaste, so that the caste system will be abolished automatically. There will be no caste. The child will not belong to a particular caste because his mother is belong to another caste and father is belong to another caste. He has both kind of theoretical thought processes, and it will be automatically abolished. Next one, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. With that, I think we can wind up the Q&A session.
Okay.
Now I invite Dr. Shirley Joski, IQAC Coordinator and Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi, for delivering vote of thanks.
Thank you, Krishna Gidi. Respected resource person of today's invited lecture, Shri Om Prakash Sonone, Head of the Department of Economics, Dr. Chako Jose, my colleagues in the Department of Economics, Krishna Gidi, 3rd BA student and College Union Chairperson, participants, and my dear students. We were indeed fortunate today to listen to a very detailed and insightful exposition of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's contributions to economics and contributions to the Indian economy. In fact, I was very much enlightened by this session of yours, and I am sure that all the participants and students were also were able to obtain valuable insights into the life of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and his very valuable contributions to almost all the disciplines of economics, like monetary economics, international trade, women empowerment, gender economics, public finance. We know that B.R. Ambedkar's contributions in the field of religion, sociology, and politics, etc., they actually overshadowed his contributions to economics. But from your talk today, sir, we were able to get a very good glimpse of his different contributions to the varying field of economics, and also the relevance of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's thoughts in today's pandemic situation. If I am correct, I think Dr. B.R. Ambedkar always supported public expenditure on rural, on infrastructure, on roads, on water, on power, on nationalization of industries, etc. And also in situations of disaster management, like we are facing today, the pandemic situation, where all governments are required to step up their public expenditure. I also appreciate the fact that you expressed your own opinion regarding the reservation. Okay, reservation, that is first 2 generations of reservation, if they have already availed of it, they should allow others who have not yet entered the reserved category to make use of reservation. I also appreciate that, sir, and thank you for spending so much of your valuable time with us today. And on behalf of the Department of Economics, on behalf of the IQAC of Sacred Heart College, and on behalf of the participants, my colleagues, and the students, I extend my very warm and heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I also extend my thanks to the head of the Department of Economics, Dr. Chako Jose, a very well versed economist in his own right and a very good leader of the Department of Economics. as well as my esteemed colleague and friend for organizing such an invited lecture on a very relevant topic in the occasion of Dr. Ambedkar's 130th birth anniversary this year. Thank you so much, Chako.
Thank
I
you. Thank you.
also thank my colleagues in the Department of Economics, Ms. Ginny Thomas, Mr. Nigel Jacobi, and Ms. Nicey Jose for all their valuable cooperation. And I also take this opportunity to thank all the participants from the other colleges who have been present during this particular talk. And I hope that you have sincerely received many new insights into Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's contributions. Thank you so much, dear participants. And I also thank Ms. Krishnagidi, our BA student and college union chairperson, for moderating this webinar. Oh, and last but not the least, I thank you, my dear students who were available for this session. And I'm sure you have become richer in knowledge after you have attended. So thank you very much. And thank you all once again.
Thank you, Shelly Miss, for doing the honors. Once again, thank you, Om Prakash sir, for that wonderful and insightful session. My sincere gratitude for the participants for their kind cooperation and joining us for our online lecture series. Hope you had a fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session. So
Thank you to give
it
me
was
the
very
golden
informative
opportunity.
and insightful one.
Thank you to give me the golden opportunity, and I would like to work with you in future. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to that, sir. Thank you.
May I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you once again.